Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond Indigo's Facebook Live. My name is Kelly Waldsound, CEO and owner. And today we are going to take some guest speakers from in-house on the Beyond Indigo team. We have Elise Phillips, our Director of Client Services, and Nate Tuttle, who is our coder extraordinaire with websites and information. And we are going to talk about websites today because they are now our new digital lobby. Well, they were before, but they're even like more so now because that's where everybody goes to find information. So just a little paint the canvas, so to speak, before we go into today's conversation. We kind of notice a few odd things here Beyond Indigo about people's behavioral patterns. Try saying that fast a few times about websites. Normally what we see is it's akin to getting a root canal for people, and they only want to do it once in their life. However, a website in all reality is like a car. And we actually can tell you what year a website was made just by looking at it. Because it's like probably you looking at a car. You know by which year, makes and models, styles, features, etc., etc. And websites also age like cars. And I know a lot of people think, well, I have a website. Why do I have to change it? I have a website. They kind of think it's more like a billboard. In reality, the technology behind it ages. And why is that? Well, because Google makes a lot of changes a year. Google admitted that last year they made over 10 changes a day, which was, 3,000 to 4,000 changes. So if you multiply, let's say, 4,000 times 5 years, which is what we say a lifetime of a website typically is, that's 20,000 changes that are made over the lifetime of a website. Well, like my very first car, I was excited I had roll-up windows. And now I'd never get a crank window because that is now called an antique. And you have electric windows, right? And you better have the seat warmers and coolers. And, and it's just, all these things become standard over time. Well, it's the same thing with websites. So Elise and Nate are going to talk about some of the features that are available on websites today. Now, if you have an older model website, don't despair. Think of this as kind of like car shopping. See the cool, fun stuff out there, kick the tires, smell the new car smell. This is kind of akin to websites. What's out there, what you can look forward to. So Elise and Nate, what do you have for us today?
Hi, Kelly. So we wanted to take a look at some of our websites from different years. So we have 3 today that we're going to talk about what they looked like and what updates we made to bring them, certainly coding-wise, up to date, but also some of the sort of hot topics that you all are thinking about, like ADA. So we're going to look at our first one is West Hills Animal Hospital. And this is what the site looked like and has looked like for approximately the last 4 years. One of the things with West Hills, when we talked to this client about doing a website update, is that they really liked their current site. They didn't want to change a whole lot on it. So we really were able to keep it pretty intact. They had done some modern things when they created it 4 years ago. And we just really needed to work on coding, bringing it a little bit more into the current requirements for ADA, and then work on their images. So we'll take a look now at its updated form. And you'll see that at first glance, not a lot has changed. There is a COVID pop-up there because, of course, that's what we're all living in right now. But once that is taken down, what you'll see that is probably the most prominent before we start scrolling is that there is an ADA accessibility button in the lower right of the screen. And I'll talk a little bit about that, Nate. I'll have you jump in with some of what that really means and what the button does. But I'll say, first of all, that while we think of seeing that button on a website as telling us that it's ADA compliant, that's not really the biggest part of it. The biggest part of it is that we want to look at things like contrast on the site. So making sure that someone who might be colorblind or who has vision impairment is able to see the contrast between the background and the text. And then the other really big one is tabbing. So we want to have the ability to tab through the site in the correct order. So if someone was not able to use a mouse, they would be able to tab. And then that also helps with screen readers because that the mechanism that's behind the scenes there is the same with screen readers. But I think, for most of us, we see that ADA button and that's our clue that it's ADA compliant. And Nate, do you want to talk a little bit about what that access button actually does?
Sure. So the button itself, it's something that when you click on it, behind the scenes of a site, I don't know, it depends on how much you know about it. Sites have, at base, it's basically just a page of text, but that text is subdivided and set up such that that it has what's called a style sheet. And that style sheet will apply the various styles. It'll make the site look like it does. And the access button strips away all of that. It pulls all of it away and leaves it as simple as possible, so that when you're looking at it with a screen reader or someone who has vision impairments, they can really easily see what it says. There's no confusion in terms of contrast. It also will usually pull away all of the images and just leave images. Will basically say that there's an image there with whatever the image has on it, so that it's a lot simpler for them to read through, and there's nothing distracting, essentially.
Awesome. Thanks, Nate.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the other things you'll see here is that as we scroll down the screen, on this new site, the navigation bar at the top of the screen stays what we call sticky. So it gets smaller, it takes away that logo, but it stays present on the screen all the time, so that no matter where you are on the screen, you're able to navigate around on the website. That's really important for user experience. The old website, we didn't really change much from the navigation, but we did make the navigation sticky. And then if we want to scroll down just a bit further to the testimonials section, we did some updates here, pulled in a new image, just kind of freshened that up a little bit, where the reviews are now. So testimonials, reviews make sense close together, where people would look for that. Along with that, we updated some of the call outs on the website. And if we can scroll right back up to the top, I forgot to say also, one of the things that we did is we want to bring more focus to AHA. Those of you who are AHA accredited, it's obviously very important that your customers know that. So the old website had that as more of a white image and it was not quite as prominent. So when we do website updates for our AHA customers, we are using a more prominent logo. We tend to use that red one. And then as we can kind of click through the site, Nate, do you want to talk a little bit about images and having these personal images that the client provided, and just how, and mixed in with stock, and how we kind of utilized those here?
Sure. So quite often people might not have images that are high quality enough to use, so we do have to resort to stock. But it's great when we can pull client provided images in, because that's their place, that's their people, it's their patients essentially, and it's much more representative of the site. It's much better for them. And one of the keys to photography is that if a picture looks a little fuzzy or a little out of focus, there's not really any way to fix that other than to get a new image. So the key is, when you're taking those photos, and if you want to be able to put photos of your own clinic and your own patients and your own workers on a site, you want to make sure that your photo is taken very steady. You want to steady your arm or use a tripod. It makes it much easier to work with the photo and really make it look nice and clear and smooth. The more you work with photos, the more they tend to get little artifacts on them that doesn't look nice. So you want to get nice clear photos from the beginning, so that there's very little you have to do, and it comes out on the site because they look nice and clean and very the best for your site.
Wonderful. Thanks, Nate.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one we're going to look at is Grady Veterinary Hospital. And this is what their site looked like when it was created approximately 5 years ago. They decided that they wanted a brand new design, but they really love their branding. They love their logo. The colors that you see on the website are colors that they utilize in the clinics. They wanted to really carry that through. But as you can see, this site wasn't just in need of things like the ADA updates. It felt much less modern. So if we could go over to the new LFU, the new update, look and feel update of this site, that has quite a different feel, as you can see there. But Nate, maybe you could talk a little bit about how we retained the colors and the branding and actually made them even more prominent on this site.
Sure. So with this site, I mean, you can see that the colors are virtually the same, and they already worked well together, so there wasn't anything to tweak in there. We were able to use those colors, and then a lot of times colors work best if there's something that's a certain degree off from it, so that the new colors blend well or look well together. It's called complementary colors, and I believe that's used at least several places in here. They're usually used as kind of an accent color to make to make certain parts stick out really well. You can see the text down there. It looks like it's probably the complementary color of the blue, that kind of greenish blue. It's a great pick for it because it stands out to you right away. And in general, just keeping keeping the contrasts really good. No matter what colors you're using, you want those contrasts so that your text stands out, your images are really clear. But you can also use kind of color overlays to add some interest to kind of background images and places to make things look more interesting.
Absolutely. I love this this update that we did. And they also, like the other site, you'll see these personal images. They had personal images on their old site, but they were small. So we got some new high definition, high resolution, photos, and really utilized those throughout the site. In the same way, we don't need to look through it again, but the same way that we did the previous site we looked at, West Hills, we did the ADA compliance. So this is fully ready for screen readers and contrast. And in addition on this one, if you want to scroll down to the footer, we moved the map to the footer. And this is something that a lot of modern sites have. And as you all know, as users of websites, that's a place that you'll often look for that integrated map. So we'll then move on to the last one we're going to take a look at. And this one is South Des Moines Veterinary Center. So their site was 6 years old, and as you can see, was even more outdated. They really didn't like the heaviness of the browns that were in it, and they wanted to modernize it. They wanted a much lighter feeling and a much more modern feeling. So we'll just, I won't give it away. Let's look at the new one. And you can see what a difference this one made. And Nate, if you want to talk about, I know you worked hard on this one and what this video did really for the modernization of the website. Yeah,
absolutely. They're really rewarding to use videos like this, especially when it's a really high quality video like they had. It's really it shows off their clinic in the best possible way. The people working there, their patients, and their facility itself. So getting a nice clear video like that and setting it up so that it will run well on all sorts of different browsers and all sorts of different devices that's really important to do, and we put in a lot of work in the back end to make that happen. And And it lends a nice degree of motion to the site too. It's not static. It's got that kind of continual motion going through it.
It's a lot of work behind the scenes, right, to make it look this smooth and simple
Yeah.
for everybody else. So this site, really, the video is, the design you see, the colors are different. They had a logo that was black, so it was easy to work with. And then the same things that we did on the other sites, looking at all of the modernization with ADA and coding, and the same thing on this one with the footer that has the map and the contact information in it. Those are our modern website standards, so that's what we do when we're bringing them up to date.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's our examples for the day.
I love it. And what a great way, fun. It's sort of like HGTV. You see the before and then you see the reveal, right? Like the before and after of it is kind of fun. Another thing that I noticed, and we'll end on this today, is making sure that the phone number is accurate and it's up front. I mean, I say this all the time on this Facebook Live show, but I can't say it enough. Make sure during COVID and during this trying time, all your contact information is up to date. Is the map right? Because sometimes that does move. Is the phone number right? Is your hours right? Because again, this is your digital lobby. So besides all the other wonderful things you said, sometimes back to basics, let's add that to the list too. Make sure that's right.
Absolutely.
100%.
Well, thank you, Elise and Nate, for coming today and showing us our before and after reveals. It was very fun.
Been a pleasure.
Yeah.